What is going on, guys? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys a very long overdue, long anticipated Eden Zero manga chapters 210 to 220 live stream discussion. Now, there's a lot of content. There's a lot of content we had to talk about with Eden Zero. And usually when I do these kind of live stream discussions, chapter by chapter, I usually go through like breaking down and analyzing everything. But for the sake of this stream and for the sake of how many chapters we have, I'm not gonna go through all of that. What I'm gonna do instead is I'll go through each of the chapters and just talk about the main highlights. Um, I know where we last left off. The Kaede War was like in its like finishing stages. Like the last very bits we ended off with were Shiki and Ziggy looking like he got like in control of like his self after what happened in the Eden's One arc. So with that in mind, which I think was also like the like near the end point of volume 24. And there's a lot to talk about with that too, especially with the afterwards section that Hiro had to say because there's a like it definitely did raise a few things that people had concern with when it came to like the end of the arc. I was like, wait a second. This happened, but what? So I'll go ahead and say this. We start off chapter 210 and everyone's right over here. Not Kira. Although Kira does have his moment here, but Feather's there, Eraser's there, like they're contacting the Eden Zero crew. And they're pretty much just talking about everything regarding Kira and how all of that was just like, huh? Wait, something about Kira just doesn't like make any sense. And what I appreciate that Hero did because it was something where when you're reading it, it's like this was kind of feels a bit out of place. Not out of place in the sense of like, oh, like that doesn't make any sense. But the timing of it. And it's something Hiro mentions in his afterwards. And I think what I'll do is I'll rely more on what he mentions in the afterwards section than I do like actually breaking down like the actual chapters himself, which you know. But here's what Hiro had to say in the volume 24 afterwards. So he says, just now I was able to write one of the scenes I wanted to write for Eden Zero. Ziggy's true identity is a story set 20,000 years later. I'm feeling kind of relieved after writing something that I've wanted to write since the series began. And that's a key thing with Hero. Everybody needs to keep in mind because most people rely on Fairy Tale and how Hero wrote Fairy Tale. And they use that as a leverage on how he takes things with Eden Zero. But if you're like me, who read a Hiro Mashima series since Raven Master, you know how the man operates. You know when it comes to storytelling, the guy knows what he's doing. Okay? Like even in Fairy Tale where it was like, man, but somehow he managed to make it work. Even though it wasn't like exactly a planned out story. But that's the thing though, is that you at least get an idea of like, okay, this is where we're going with. And because here's the thing, if you remembered Rave Master, there is a specific moment, and I always bring it up. There's one specific moment in Rave Master where you're like, yo, who's this? Like, it's like, what's so relevant about this one specific part of the story? And then everything ties back into it, and you're just like, yo, that's insane. So I like that Hero kind of has the same approach here. And it kind of goes back to chapter 222 because there's so much that happens there where you're like, dude, are you for real? So, given that, okay, let me just say this right now. You get this. He's feeling relieved that all this happened. And here's the crazy thing. He says it's starting to feel like I'm drawing the second half at least. A lot of people have taken this into the fact that, oh wait, are you saying like everything up until now was only just the first half of the story? This is the second half? No, it's not, because if you remember in volume 19, he mentioned that the first half of the story was already finished when you get to volume 19. Volume 19 was the end point of what's it called? The end point of part one for Eden Zero, because this is how I pretty much take every story. Once you hit the time skip, that's essentially like part two. Like it happened with Bleach, happened with Naruto, especially Naruto, happened with Naruto, happened with Attack on Titan. So, and One Piece. One Piece is another one too. Bleach, same thing. So this isn't exactly something new for like a shonen series. But for Hero, a lot of people I remember took this into account. I'm like, yo, he actually aged up his characters. Holy shit! And with that said, like there is really like a lot. There's a lot that I'm brushing over, obviously, but that's only because I want to get to like the nitty gritty of what Hero was talking about here from his afterwards section. So he says this. In the next volume, the battle with Ziggy will finally come to an end, and the story will progress in a direction you never imagined. I've said this in interviews before, but for my debut work, Rave Master, and it's funny because I brought that up too, apart from some slight course correction along the way, the story was pretty much completed from start to finish before serialization. And you could tell, like you could really tell when you look at Raymaster. You see how that story is written, how little plot points like come together, and you're like, dude, like that's Prime Hero. Prime Hero was Rave Master. And then he says this: my second work, Fairy Tale, nothing, almost nothing was decided except the only thing he knew were the characters' pasts. That's the only thing he knew. And while adding things in hindsight to keep the story consistent, I drew it in a style where I push myself into thinking. I made this move. But what's going to happen next? Week after week. And so for my current work, Eden Zero, it's progressing in a hybrid style between my past two works. And that's apparent. And it's not the first time Hero said that either, because I believe this volume section or the afterward section of the volume three, he mentions the same thing. He mentions that how the way he's approaching Eden Zero is like a blend of fairy tale and Rave Master, where the bullet points of the story he has down. How we get to those bullet points is where the excitement part comes in. That's what Hero said. It's not word for word, but I'm paraphrasing that statement. There are so many things that I decided, such as the overall picture, the background setting, and the true nature of redacted, okay, and the true nature of blank. But there are many things I haven't decided on either. With that said, and I want everyone to keep this in mind here, Ziggy's identity and its setting were set in stone from the beginning. But Kira's identity was a setting I made up on the spot. And honestly, when you look back at how Kira was handled, like even like in the pre-time skip era, I think you can kind of tell that okay, yeah, that kind of came up on the fly. That's the thing. I think you could tell for Kira's side of things that that was one aspect of the story where it was like, huh? Wait. Like it was cool, but at the same time it was like, where's Hiro going with that? So for him to clarify on that and say, okay, that's something I kind of came up on the spot. Many people could take that as like, yo, no, I'm not accepting that. There's no excuse for it. Here's the thing, as a writer, I think it's totally fine for you to admit your flaws. I think it's totally fine, to admit when stuff like this happens. It's totally fine. And that's just my thoughts on it though. It really is. So the whole cure thing, it's I mean it was cool, but it was like, But he says this. I feel like he should have played a more active role. But there were a few too many characters and I was looking to adjust the number of characters around now. As for God Agnewell's identity, though it wasn't from the beginning, I decided on a while ago. I was planning to give her a more intense battle with Elsie, but because of the story's pacing, it wound up being incredibly quick and simple. So the way it happened in, I want to say this is 212, right? The Basically the way chapter 212 ended, which is where volume 24 ends. Elsie shows up and just like cuts her in half, and like that's it. What needs to be taken into account with that is really, really simple. And that's the fact that in Hero's mind, that there was going to be a more intense battle. And I think it would have been really interesting to see that. Like that's one of the things about this part of Eden Zero where it would have been better to see that fight, like the way how Hero kind of envisioned it. But it goes back to what he said though, where the way the events played out, it's like, huh, like, I mean, because I remember a lot of people around this point in time were like, really? Like, we used Noella up like that? It was a huge throw off for a lot of people around the time when these chapters came out. And it was like, wait. Are we seriously doing this to Noella? One of the Horatio says Galactica, and that's how we're treating her. Are we for real now? Like that's it? And many people around that point were like, I don't know about the direction that he was going to go in. I personally, now like I said, I didn't cover the chapters around this point because it was around the time when I went out of town. But it does show that Hero did have something in mind for Agnoella. And maybe it would have been better to see how he wanted that to play out, but like I said, due to the way he paced out the story, it was like, oh shit. It's one of those cases where you're kind of in contemplation of what do you want to do? Do you want to speed up that process, or do you want to slow it down just a bit, just to be like, this is what we're doing? So, you know. Well, in that sense, I'm basically the kind of guy who just randomly changes settings and does things like that. But after this, and this is the thing I think is going to be a really crucial point because he says this. In that sense, I'm basically the kind of guy that does this. But there will be an interesting setup. Everyone needs to keep this in mind here. There will be an interesting setup behind Mother's true identity to be revealed in the next few volumes. So please look forward to it. He said the next few volumes. This is volume 24. So volume 24 ends at, I want to say, yeah, 212. 212 should be the end point of this volume. With that in mind, where we're at currently with the chapters, chapter 220 is the like penultimate chapter to volume 25 ultimately. So not exactly volume 25, but 26, 27 definitely will probably get something. The event of volume 25 is more of like a precursor to it. Okay, so we kind of have an idea of where Mother is, kind of, but we don't know where. And going off from that, I do think it's kind of interesting seeing with what we got with Saint Fire Knox. That whole backstory. Actually, no. Before we get to that, I know a lot of people want to ask me, how was everything in regards to Ziggy? And can I just say this? I don't know what is up with Hiro, but the man knows how to like get you in the heartstrings. I don't know how. He just does this because at this point, I'm gonna say this right now. At this point, I should have expected this. I really should have. Coming from Rave Master, coming from Fairy Tale, and now this, like, this should have been like, come on, Loki. Like, you know this. This should have been obvious. And yet, it still got me. And that's the way how you handle the death of Ziggy. It's very similar to the way how you had other characters go out. Okay, not necessarily Natsu, but think of like Gray and Silver. It was almost very similar to that. Like you had this whole thing going on. It's actually kind of like a combination of the two now that I think about it. Because you're led to believe that Ziggy lost control ultimately. Like he's not in control again, and he's being possessed once more. And he's fighting off Shiki. The whole time you're kind of just like, yo, what the hell? And then you find that it's a facade. And that's a very silver-like thing to do because if you remember in Fairy Tale, we were all led to believe that when it came to Silver, he was Deliora. And he was doing all this shit. He was making all these speeches about what happened. And you're sitting there thinking, this is really intense. But you notice little certain key things here and there about that scene. Where you're like, if he's really Deliora, then why is he going all out? And that's something you kind of get over here too. Because in that fight with I said Deliora. In that fight with Silver, Gray was able to figure out that no, like, you're not Deliora, you're actually my dad. And very similar, we kind of get that here with Shiki and Ziggy in it. And he's realizing this too, as like flashing back to everything. And as he's about to lay that final attack, very much like Gray, Shiki says, did you think I wouldn't figure it out? I'd fall for the same trick twice? You sent me off into space by making everyone on Grenville pretend they'd gone berserk. And now you're acting like you've been taking over again. I'm on to you, Grandpa. Man, when you see the tears this man brings out, like, I sat there for like a good 2 minutes. I'm like, he got me again. Hero got me once more with this shit. And I'm like, and Ziggy's there, and he's like, then are you going to stop me? No, I'm not. And you see Ziggy smile, like old school Ziggy smile, like back from chapter 1. He's like, good. Don't make me, or don't let me lose control again. And you have Shiki charging up his attack, destroy me. And I would just say this right now: the way Hero like outlined this chapter, like this moment, like with that Black Meteor Sky attack, oh, like it was deep. It ran like super super deep when I read it. And hey, the wormhole opened up, and Pino's there. Pino's like, wait, I went through a wormhole, which means Master Ziggy, Master. And you see Shiki over there. He says, I'm glad you're okay, Pino. This time, it really is goodbye. Grandpa really is gone. I could never tell him before, so I hope he got the message. Thank you for raising me. Thank you for everything, Grandpa. Jumping through time, becoming a robot, going back in time and raising me. It's been a strange and unusual fate, but the Shiki standing here now exists outside the Wheel of Time, which I'm assuming this what we're getting right now is actually Ziggy um, saying this. And this is kind of where I say it's kind of like a blend between the way you had not Natsu, Gray and Silver's fight, and then like the aftermath of it being very similar to Igneel. Or when you had Igneel die, you had this conversation where Natsu's like breaking down and everything, and he wish he was able to say all these things to Igneel, and then Igneel kind of like gives him that courage to like stand back up on his feet. It's very similar in that sense here, in a big way. I mean, a very, very, very big way. So, what I mean by that is this. As Ziggy says, another version of myself, one that never became Ziggy. And that means if I die, I won't disappear. That was a nice, beautiful, heartfelt panel, too, of like Ziggy and Shiki, we will become one. Shiki and Ziggy. And again, man's crying out, too, very similar to Natsu. God damn. And I'll leave it all to my other self. I trust you to guide the destiny of this universe and choose the path for the Eden Zero. I will, Grandpa. I promise. Let's give Ziggy a moment of silence, just for being that guy, for being that character. Because holy shit, I'm honestly at a loss for words. I really am. Like, just when a chapter does that to you, and you're like just left there in thought, yeah, that's so melancholy. That's so like it hits you. And when a chapter can do that, you know you've done something great as a writer. You've done something incredible. So for that, you know, 214. That's what this chapter was, right? It's pure perfection. Just for that. Now 215 though, 'cause I want to jump there. 215 from the depths of the earth. Shiki's there. Pino says, "Master, did you always know that it was Master Ziggy?" And Shiki says, "No, I figured it out during the fight. And then I remember that he called you little girl. You dared defy me, little girl?" Which, again, that by itself should have also been a big hit, too. That's something you would call a human girl, right? And then you see Pino there. She's smiling, all blushy. Okay, not like blushy, blushy, but she's just like, "Oh, Grandpa's such a good guy." And Pino's like, "Because he was originally you?" Yeah. Honestly, I don't feel bad for. I don't. I feel bad for Shiki for saying that because he's like I can kind of relate to that because he's just like, man, I guess that part still doesn't really feel real. But Grandpa's powers have flown into me, kind of like a certain other thing. I'm not gonna say what, but y'all know what I'm referring to. So now we cut over. We see Ivory, Ziggy. You're leaving me too. Hermit's there, like not broken down, but you definitely do see her like sulking up to this, like you never gave up on your pride, Ziggy. Then this happens, systems are booting back up. What? What's all the noise about? And that's Couch saying. LeBoy is like an alert. Moscow says Moscow, and then you have Jin saying, "Hermit, what happened?" And Hermit says, Connor, prepare for departure. Eh? Call everyone back to the ship. Hurry. And get this. It's the Union Army. Wait, what is that? I know that ship. They're with the Union Army. Smudge and blazes. Happy eye. We have no intention of fighting you. Huh? And you see Hamura there. Like, Hamura? And it's Eraser. She helped our little justice out of a jam. And one good turn deserves another. So we're here to return her. And you see the look Weiss has. He's just like, yo, get your hands off of her. Ow. Don't scowl. We don't really want to fight right now. And wow, what is this place? It's incredible. Hamura, are you okay? That's Rebecca talking. Never mind that. We should leave this planet immediately. That's what Feather says. And she says that because our good friend the Chronophage, this is terrifying as hell, is on its way to Linder. And that gets Happy's attention. And then Herman comes in saying, Rebecca, come in, Rebecca. Operation Planet Eater is canceled. The Chronophage is already headed to Linder. Return to the ship now. Very Halo 1 esque, actually. Like, if anybody remembers how Halo 1 ends, it's kind of similar to that. Rebecca, when did you summon the Chronophage? I didn't. It changed course without us. Uh, I don't know what's up with you guys, but the part about the Chronophage is 100% true, is what Eraser says. So, considering the circumstances, we don't want to fight you, or rather, it's really not the time. And as that's happening, see the wormhole open up, like the ability that Ziggy had. Shiki has that now. Guys, you got Herbert's message, right? And that's Shiki, Pino. I said, Shiki? What in the? Where did you come from? And Pino says, a wormhole. I got a new power from Grandpa, but never mind. We have to. And immediately Shiki pauses, and the racer's like, this is Shiki Grandpa. The man with the ether of a demon king. You guys better get out of here too. There's a chronophage coming to the planet. Yeah, we know, is what he says. Now I have to find Elsie, and don't bother with Elsie. Apparently, she wants to talk to Justice alone. They fought each other for ages, and now they're finally talking. Let's not be a third wheel. But that's what Shiki says. And then Feather says, Justice has been informed of the approaching chronophage. They can escape when it becomes necessary. Okay then, we're out of here. Come on, everyone, grab on. I'll open a wormhole to the ship. And man, this is such a very wholesome panel we get over here with like Shiki holding on to Rebecca, and Rebecca just smiling. She's like, I'm glad you're okay, Shiki. He smiles back, and then Eraser says, mind if I ask you a question? What are you people after? And Shiki just says, adventure. We're going to find Mother. Using the wormhole ability to disappear, Shiki and his party move instantaneously to the Eden Zero. The power belonged to Nero. Technically, it's the power Ziggy took from Nero. So did Shiki beat Ziggy? And Feather says, I've lost Ziggy's pos- positional information. I can't believe I fumbled on that, but yeah. And judging from Shiki's position a few minutes ago, it is a certainty. Eden Zero, prepare to launch. Can we? Half our engines are busted. Do ye? Do ye think I be? No, who you think I be? And then there's Rebecca. There's Connor. There's a huge thing when you talk about Connor too. He's looking over, and he says, "All hands assist with the launch sequence." Hermit's there with Shiki, and he says, "I know it was hard." And he says, "It's just as hard for you." Now might not be the time to bring this up, but the real enemy Ziggy was talking about, the one that was controlling him, and this was such a big deal. I'm not gonna front about this because I remember for a while people were like, "Yo, who's the real enemy? Who's the one that Ziggy was talking about?" Because this was a theory people had a long time ago that maybe Ziggy's possessed, and there were vibes like even as far back as the Eden's One arc when Ziggy had that ether energy like coming up around him. It was like, hey, what is that? And he comes back online, just instantly just starts wrecking shit. But Herbert says this: when Ziggy left the Eden Zero 18 years ago, he said something else. No, he said something to Elsie. He said that he couldn't keep a big ship at Granville because it's a theme park. But then it doesn't make sense. When did he build it? It was probably already under construction when we were in outer space. That blank period in our memories. I, I don't know why he would have built it, but I guess he wanted a spare ship in case something happened to the Eden Zero. And this part might be a jump in logic, but I think maybe it developed its own will. One that was in opposition to Ziggy's goal. Its own will. And when you see like what was rumbling beneath the feet, like I remember I was sitting there like reading this particular chapter going like, yo, wait a second. Like there like I was like, there's no way. There is absolutely no way. But let's get to this part. High heat source readings up ahead. What is that? Something's coming out of the ground. Its AI was too advanced. It surpassed the intelligence of humans and the intelligence of machine. It were here all along, and the thing that Hermit was talking about, a ship with unparalleled power and matchless intellect. That is our real enemy. The Eden's One, a ship with a mind of its own. And I remember when this chapter dropped, everyone was like, "Yo, cut the brakes on this real quick," because now everything like I can't say everything was starting to make any sense was starting to make sense, but when you go back to the Eden's One arc now, like the way it plays out, like you sit there thinking, "Holy shit!" Because and it's actually funny that it's called the Eden's One arc now because that whole time you're kind of thinking, we've seen the Eden's One, but where was Connor? That's the first thing. Where was Connor? Number two, like it came to pick up Ziggy, and Ziggy was like, it's the age of mechanical lives or something along those lines. So to get this little revelation that like the true enemy is the Eden's One, a ship with a mind of its own, like it does say a lot. It really, really does say a lot about this particular uh, thing. And someone pointed this out to me, but if you notice the design of the Eden's One, it's very similar to the design of the ship that Rebecca and Happy were on in the first chapter. So that's intriguing. That's honestly like super, super intriguing to like find out. But we get to 216 within the fading years. So you're seeing the Eden Zero, you see Eden's one, and Shiki's like, the Eden's one? That's what's been controlling Grandpa? The AI opposed Ziggy's goals and kept growing. Ultimately, it developed a mind and a purpose of its own. A purpose. The one Ziggy talked about when he was under its control. To destroy Mother and eliminate the human race from all the cosmos. And then we cut over to Wise. It's getting ready to attack. And Connor's like, the Zero be in no state for battle. Evade. Pino, Eden Zero emergency takeoff. Then we'll go into outer space. And right as that's happening, like the Eden's one, like, hail to the no, you're not doing that. Hail to the no. No, 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 no. That ain't happening whatsoever. They take a direct hit. What kind of weapon can be one that you won't find on the Eden Zero? It's going right through our protection matrix. And Shiki just says, retreat. Connor, did you hear me? I know, I'll be trying. It's coming after us, is what Laguna says. And then Connor's like, I'll shake her off. I swear it. That's what's happening. And, okay, look, here's the thing. Ziggy's end got me hitting in the feels. That's one. When you add this on top of it, though, I'm like, because I don't want to stretch too much on the Justice and Elsie subplot, but I just want to say it was beautiful. It was really, really beautiful. Just seeing them talk everything out, seeing where they're going, getting a little bit of an idea of where Elsie was coming from. And like I said, maybe if Hiro did focus a little bit more on that fight like he really wanted to, maybe we could have gotten some of that stuff. But, you know, she talks about what happened. And ultimately, the reason why she did what she did was because she went to another kingdom to ask for advice. But that led to the war they were currently on. And, like, people died. Like, essentially, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as the saying goes. And that's ultimately what happened to Elsie. And James looks at this. I don't know if what you did was right, but I can't say it was wrong either. Look at me. I had so much pent up anger and hate, and I took it all out on you. No, I took it out on a little girl who didn't have a better choice. I don't want to fight anymore. Anyone for that matter. I don't want any more people to die. To think that's how you felt all this time. And I never managed to see it. I don't even know why I was fighting. For justice? No? No, the man justice doesn't exist anymore. And as it's going on, you see the Eden Zero just being like, we gotta skedaddle. Like, this is Nightmare 101. We cannot not do this. No, we gotta flee ASAP right now. She's doing all that. And Justice kind of thinks back to like, hey, it doesn't make sense like Kimura killed Creed. And, but essentially his narrow minded thinking kind of skewed his view of justice. And then Elsie says, are you still going to arrest me? No, I'm done with all that. Then you better go. The chronophage will be here soon. And Justice is like, you're not leaving? Or in this case, James. I'll say James. James says, you're not leaving? And Elsie's like, this is my home. I want to stay here. And, oh my god. This scene. Like, okay, we had casualties in the Alloy Cosmos. We did not have this. Like, again, losing Ziggy was one thing. Losing these two on top of that, though, god damn. We lost so much time, and now the chronophage will cleanse it for us. Connor, fast travel. I know, we're charging the energy as we speak. And then Y says, Shiki, what happened? I thought you beat Ziggy. And then who's piloting that ship? Nobody's on it. The ship is moving on its own will. As what? You have Y is kind of like expressing, he's like, wait, what the hell you mean it has a mind of its own? And Laguna says, making the jump to fast travel. Shiki, look. You know what Rebecca says as they look over. Chronophage is coming. The chronophage is attacking Lender. It's eating its time. They're like getting away. You see Shiki like just look at the view of it. And here's the thing. We've seen the chronophage technically like bring life back to a certain point, but we've never really seen like how the whole process goes. And seeing that here really says a lot because you're seeing this. Like it's almost catastrophic, but you get this nice emotional embrace between Elsie and James. And she's like, do you remember this place? Yes. It's where you teased me. And they go back to when they were kids. I know, James. Let's kiss. My first love. He's shy and everything. And goddamn, like I said, I was a wreck when I read Ziggy stuff, but if I were to like talk about this chapter the day it came out, like, oh man, like my nose should tell you how I'm really feeling about this. It really should because, god damn it, this manga, god damn it, this manga, like only Hero, only Hero could pull some shit like this, and that's a fact. Only Hero could pull some kind of shit like this, make it work. Cause goddamn. Anyway, you see that? We see our good friend Xiao Mei, which I have a theory video I'm working on, by the way, when it comes to Xiao Mei. And that's going to come probably at the end of this week because it's a long overdue video that I've been meaning to work on for ages. But she's over here, she's holding her hands behind her back. She's like, the chronophage feasted on Linder's time, ruthlessly devouring 260 years. But somewhere in the backward rolling moment, there may have been a short love story between a little boy and a little girl. And now, and see, Zhao Mei laying out the facts right over here. Our story moves on towards its final battle. And that's the end of chapter 216. So, 216, I think, yeah. So, this wouldn't be the end of volume 25, but it's like the midway point of volume 25. So, if we take this into account, like let's look at the story arcs real quick. Like I don't think, yeah, the Lindard story arc technically isn't like exactly finished just yet, but keep this in mind. With where we're at right now. So Lindard started at chapter 181, and we end off. If we're talking chapter wise, we end off on 220. So that's roughly like 49 chapters. Easy. Like 49 even chapters. And what I think we're gonna get is like maybe like one additional chapter for as like the full wrap up to this volume. But keep this in mind: the Kaede War, not the Kaede War. This was the Kaede War. What am I talking about? Shit, I'm lost my train of thought here. Uh, the Narrow 66 arc, or in this case, you know, the Alley War. That was from 139 to 169. Now 169 technically starts off on volume, or is like technically like the end point or like the beginning point of volume 20. Though if you were to read it from volumes, like 167 is a pretty good ending off point for the arc too. But let's say this as a whole. So up until volume 12, ultimately, volume 12 was the Sakura Cosmos saga. From volume 1 to volume 12 was everything regarding that saga. Volume 13 to volume 19. So that's like six volumes. Those 6 volumes make up the Aoi Cosmos. And now, if we want to bring this into account, from volume 20 to volume 25, ultimately, like I said, we still got a few more chapters to talk about here, but from volume 20 to volume 25, that's 6 volumes. Yeah, that's 6 volumes. Those 6 volumes make up this arc, the Lindard arc, or if you want to call it the Kaede War. I mean, it really depends on you guys, but I'm gonna call it. I'm just gonna call them by their respective names. So, the Narrow 66 arc and the Lindard arc, in and of itself. So, yeah, that's interesting. Actually, how you have almost the same length. And I say almost because, like I said, the Kaede War, or not the Kaede War, the Kaede Cosmos saga. 6 volumes. And the Aoi Cosmos saga was 7. And if we want to bring that into account here, I think, given that, no, let me say my thoughts until like we actually get to the very ending of this because there's only a few chapters left from here. So 217 is interesting. All right, got a nice, very sexy cover page of Rebecca with her, her bunny ears or her cat ears, and a very peculiar outfit. I'll say that. But Xiao Mei's there. Hello, everyone. I'm Xiao Mei, the narrator of the story. Yeah, we know that. Xiao Mei, we know. As Lendard fell victim to the Chronophage's appetite, the Eden Zero successfully escaped the Eden One's pursuit. Our story returns to the Sakura Cosmos, with various emotions in our heroes' hearts. 7 days go by. Having accomplished her goal, Holy returned to the Interstellar Union Army. Thank you for all your help, is what Holy says. Horatio says Galactica was all but eliminated, and Interstellar lost half its number. We have to consider where we'll go from here. And you see, and I always blink on these two. I always blink on, her 2 minions, but I'll remember in due time. Are you sure you don't want to execute your immaculate military operation? Immaculate military operation. I never knew what that was. And when you find out what it is, I was just like, are you for real? Because she says, it was my plan to arrest Yoshiki after defeating Dead and Crow. And he's like, wait, why is it immaculate? And look, I would say this Holy's best girl. Easy. She was best girl for a while. Like okay, yeah, was she hot? Yeah, she's pretty hot, but to me, you need more to a character than just, like looking super sexy. But when you get all that ease like out of her system, like when she wasn't like super stressed out about Dead and Crow, this panel was just hysterical. Like I just couldn't help but just find it amusing. And Get when you know more about Holy, I think that's kind of fitting because you're like because I was going to seduce him with my that's amusing. I mean, who can blame a guy though? She's sexy. Case in point. And one of her minions is like, but that's like the opposite of immaculate. Yeah, it was named ironically. And she's sitting there like, all blushy blushy. Then you get Jamie. The remains of the Eden's crew's mothers were each transported back to their home planets, where they received proper burials. Meanwhile, the sole survivor, Rebecca's mother, has yet to awaken. However, and this is where things get amusing because Jamie says Connor has told Rebecca that she is his father. What? Like, I love this expression Rebecca has. Like, what? Yar! As I told you, I be your father. What? Like, po- honestly, if I was Rebecca, I would have been like the same thing. Like, wait, excuse me. Like, hold up. Call me daddy, if you please. And Rebecca's like, no, 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 no. Why didn't you say anything before? Yar, it were never the opportune moment. Couldn't you have just said? Could you have just said when you first got here? And like Connor's like super sweating about this and everything. Nay, I didn't know myself when I first got here. And he's talking about. See, I think it's so amusing that he's saying all this at a dinner table with Shiki there too. Like, I don't know. I just kind of sat there thinking, like, yo, it's like a husband and a wife, like meeting like their long forgotten father after so long. He's like, although I did think that you reminded me of Rachel, your mother, and Shiki's just like, when did you figure it out? And then you got Herman in the back with a brand new outfit, by the way. And her outfit looks amazing on her. When Noah told you, right? Back on Blue Garden, when Feather attacked, we left the guild and Connor stayed behind. He was there alone with Noah. Every one of them is an orphan. That's exactly why that the bonds they share with the crew are more valuable to them than anything in the cosmos. And they all be orphans. And Noah's like, although actually, Rebecca's father is standing right in front of me. The expression on Connor's face too. He's just like, what? Like the very same expression that Rebecca had, like, what? She's been asking me to find them for years, and now I finally have. What? I'll spare you the boring details, but it was my power that gave you away. No, 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 no. Like, it's very, very mimicable to Rebecca, and you sit there, was like sitting there, just like, oh yeah, no, he's definitely her dad. And I know there was a big controversy here with this part too, because a lot of people were like, yo, like, what kind of father would look at her, look at his daughter like that? Like, that's just kind of gross. Like, like, but he sees Rebecca, and everyone remembers this part. Like, yo, old man, don't you be oogling my crewmates? And Connor's like, call me captain if you please. And here's the thing: initially, you would kind of think, yo, Connor's just being a perv. But then when you see like through his lenses, you do see like the man's like teary. You're my father, the father who abandoned me. Like the I love the expression that Hero's given them because this is just too funny. And Connor's like, making me sound like a bad guy, you be. I told you, it be I who were abandoned. Rachel took her newborn daughter and left me. I hate to think about it, but the one who actually abandoned you. And Rebecca's like, just like my mother. I hate to think about it. And I hate to think it. And Rebecca's like, I hate to think that. And then you have Weiss over here just going like, now that you mentioned that, those two are a lot alike. And Amor is laughing at it too, like, even the way they eat is identical. Why are my father and mother suddenly popping out of nowhere? I mean, just as confused as you'll be. As what do you say? And then you got Rebecca still going like, you can't expect me to accept all this. And then Happy says, Rebecca, you shouldn't eat so much. And then Pino just casually says, now calculating current calorie intake. I'm pretty sure you don't want a girl to know that, like, right in front of them. I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure you don't want a girl to know that, like, right off the gate. And then Herman's looking all smug, like, saying, hey, that reminds me. Connor did talk about camera angles once, and when the topic of camera angles came up, I remember I was just like, oh no. I already knew where this was headed. I know where this was headed. Because Shiki's like camera angle. And Connor's like, blow me down. This last camera angle be tightly fixed. I love Herman. I do. I just want to say that right now. I love Herman and her expressions because she's like, usually you'd say someone is short sighted or has tunnel vision, but he specifically talked about camera angles. What is wrong with this game? I can't change the camera angle. He had the term in his mind from watching Rebecca's gaming streams. And Rebecca's like super flustered too. Like, wait, you watched my videos? Not all of them, but yeah. That video, like the video where you dripped honey down your cleavage, that was some fine work. Like the way this man was like, the way he said this too, he was like, that was some fine work. Now, here's the thing. He didn't talk about it like in a full sentence. He talked about it like where he was kind of nervous and like embarrassed, like that be some fun work. And Rebecca's like, if you were my father, you should be angry that I made that. And you got Weiss in the corner to just go like, wow, what? You made a video like that? And I'm more like, wow, like this view count is incredible. And I mean, look, Rebecca is, you know, pretty sexy too. But there's no mistake about that. Rebecca has quite a figure in that sense. She's like, and as that's going down, you see this, and then we cut to the bath. So now he tells me he's my father. Am I supposed to be happy? Well, why not? Didn't you want to meet your father? And this is between Rebecca and Liboya, by the way. I didn't think I'd be meeting him like this, though. And then you go back to, and then in that same scene, you got Clean and you got Hamura. Doesn't matter how you met him. It doesn't matter how. You just met him. That's good. And Hamura is just like hot. So like, there's always this ongoing joke with Hamura where she's using the bath for like training and everything. But you know, and Couch was there too. She's right. There are plenty of kids out there who will never get to see their parents. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. And Clean like, don't worry, it's okay. And Hamor is like, this bath is too hot. And she's thinking like, but my mother abandoned me. Your turn, Libelia. Yes, ma'am. Oh, Rebecca, in one of your old videos, you said, I don't have a mommy or a daddy, but if I do get to meet them someday, I'm going to have them cosplay Happy. Happy and mommy happy and daddy happy. All three happies. Aye! And as soon as like that little memory sequence ends, like you have her thinking like, wait a second. Surely he wouldn't watch a video from that long ago. And Labelia, like the views were only in the double digits. Don't remind me. And then you got the scene between Hamura and Clean where Hamura wants to battle. Clean, she's like, but a duel because of that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And she's like, this is where I once battled Elsie. And she's like, just looking at him, just like, Elsie. Her Highness, Goen and Hyoga. Fucking Hyoga, this guy too, are all still missing. Have you heard anything from any of them? And Shiki says no. If you find them, please call. Herman's over there, she's like, Shiki, I think Elsie. And he's like, yeah, I know. Elsie chose her own path. I respect that, but I don't have a clue how to explain that to her crew. And I totally forgot that this guy was over here. Clown's over here too. I don't see why telling them the truth wouldn't be the best option. Yeah, you're not wrong, but and Herman's like, you're supposed to be interrogating him, not having a heart to heart. Having a heart to heart and getting advice. Your orders weren't coming from Ziggy; they were from the Eden's One, right? So the cat's out of the bag. Who is it? A ship with the same specifications as Zero. Who built it? Master Ziggy, of course. How did it get a mind of its own? Is it really that strange for a machine to have a heart? And as that happened, like the same little sequences of events that we had during the battle, uh, with a few of the Dark Stars, like Killer and oh my god, why am I blanking on the other one's name? Hold on, I'm gonna double check. There were four Dark Stars. I remember those. Brigadine. There we go. We had Brigadine. We had Wizard. Yeah, Brigadine and Wizard were like gone. Killer was gone too. So, like, we had these little sequences where like certain characters were like identical to, or not identical, but they had like some sort of history with the other. In this case, Witch and Wizard had something. Killer and Hermit had something. Likewise, you had Brigadine and Valkyrie have a connection too. So what we're getting over here, pretty much, is a connection between Ivory and Clown. And Ivory's just like, Doctor, there's no hope for me, is there? You'll be fine. Trust me. After all, they did call me the acrobat of the operating team. And Shiki's like, sister and you. As it's happening, you get this interruption from Ivory where she's like, can you hear me? Or can everyone hear me? Specifically, or no, especially Rebecca and Connor. And the fact that he has this on at least shows that, yeah, he did watch that video. Rebecca's there. It's St. Fire Knox. I mean, Rachel, I guess. She's awake. Cut to chapter 219, or 219, 210, or 218. I'm sorry, guys. But you have Rebecca running over. She abandoned her husband and daughter, became the founder of some freaky church. Heck, she's one of the Rations Ace Galactica. Maybe I should be scared. As it's happening, you see Rebecca, you see Connor, taking a look. Rebecca's like fixing her towel. And as that's happening, oh my god, like Ivory is in her place. Like, what do you think you're doing? Ow, ow. And father and daughter having the same expressions on their face. What do you think you're doing, ducky? What am I doing in this crazy place? Rachel, stop. And she looks over. She's like, Connor. And is that the second she woke up, she started attacking. So that's what Ivory's saying. and quick enough to put Rebecca's speed to shame. Yeah, we're real sorry about that. See, the last thing I remember is Ziggy attacking the church. You can't blame me for thinking I was captured by Ziggy. Well, you were, so. And then she's looking over at Rebecca. Look at how you've grown, Rebecca. Of course. Now you start talking like a mother. As if you didn't abandon me. And, you got Rachel just giving that expression on her face like, that's fair. I never knew where you came from. I didn't know the Church of Saintfire were your family. Do, do they have anything to do with what happened? Anything I say will sound like an excuse. And Rebecca's like, I still have a right to hear it. Tell me everything. I wouldn't know where to start. Maybe I should start by telling you where I came from. I'm from Mills. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, everyone. In the Yukino cosmos, there has been a church there for ages. The Church of Saint Fire. That church is my ancestral home. For generations, members of my family have been required to act as the founder of that church. I was trained from a young age to take the role myself, the role of Saint Fire. They put their faith in the time, right? Well, and she, I restate this time in quotations. Well, in a nutshell, sure, is what Rachel says. It ain't wrong to look at it that way. They say that for generations, the women in our family have had the power to control time. And you know what I'm talking about, Rebecca. And Rebecca's like, keep talking. I hated being stuck in a family like that, so I ran away from home. I was at that age, you know. You ran away, is what Ivory says. I went all the way to the Eye Cosmos, where I fell in love with Connor. He was the lieutenant commander in the Freedom Force then. What? You didn't say you were a captain. And Connor, like, this were before I were promoted. And then Rachel says, 3 years I spent with Connor were the best years of my life. It was a happy time when I could forget my old life. But you left me on the day our daughter was born. You left without a word. And you have Rachel and thought. She's like, the Church of Saintfire found me. They took you and your daughter away by force. Isn't that it? Not exactly, but close enough. Not exactly. At first, I just did what they wanted. But then they killed Connor. What? There's a group in the same fire church called the Fanatics, and they weren't happy about the relationship you had with the next founder, so they. No, 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 no! I still be alive! And Rebecca instantly says, you turn back time. That's right. Connor was killed in a different world. Very much like Shiki. Interesting. I kept going back again and again until I found a world where Connor didn't die. In that world, I went back to the church voluntarily, without a word to him. And then you see Rebecca sweating, you see Connor sweating. After that, they kept me under house arrest. And then when Rebecca was about 4 years old, the fanatics turned on her. They said they wouldn't accept a girl with an unknown pedigree. Did I die too? And then poor Rachel, because you see this look on her face, and she's like, I don't even know how many times I had to watch my daughter die. I tried to find a world where you survived and we lived together. I tried hundreds, thousands of times to find somewhere, but I couldn't. This power can only do so much. And then I realized that I didn't have the ability to turn back time. As a last resort, I sent my daughter far. I sent my daughter far away to the cosmos where the cherry blossom stands. And Happy gets the idea. Connor's there. Ivory's there. I'm so sorry. And Rebecca's still just like doesn't really say anything. She's like, "You could have at least given me enough money to write off for the rest of my life." I wasn't sure that's what I did. I found a few believers I trusted. I gave them money and I sent them with you. But I get it, I was naive. I guess they took the money and ran off, and Rebecca's just like, The Church of St. Fire started scaggling back after that. Eventually, they forgot all about their Kagami traditions. So, how did you get to be one of the Revealations Galactica? It was my mother that they call that. Rebecca's grandmother. Her powers were really something. Everybody everywhere was afraid of her. Nox was a title that's given to the church founders. The name took on a life of its own, and by my generation, it struck fear into hearts all over the cosmos. The church came to find me because my mother passed away. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rebecca. I left you all alone. And Rebecca turns around, and Abby's like, Rebecca, I'm going to get dressed. I was fine. Abby was with me through it all. I never felt lonely. Still, I have some mixed feelings to work through. But for now, I'm just glad I got answers. And I'm glad I got to meet you. And then you see this expression like and Rachel feeling kind of bad, but also like getting not exactly getting flustered, but you know what I mean. You get that. You got Connor, same expression. Rebecca, if there's one thing I want you to know, it's this. Not a single day went by that I didn't think of you. I've always loved you. And right then and there, she turns around and just starts embracing her parents. And it was heartfelt. It was a very heartfelt chapter. Now, I've seen some people talk about, like, was this like a really earned moment? And it goes back and forth. Like, there's an aspect where it was earned, and there's an aspect where it wasn't earned. But I think it worked. I think it actually worked. And it did clear up a mystery that the communities had for a long time. Like, okay, what happened to Rebecca? Like, what's her origin? And now, we're kind of getting that. And that's kind of where that chapter ends. So 218 is kind of like, I wouldn't say pre perfection, but it was definitely an amazing plus chapter for sure in that sense. Then we get to chapter 219, The Final World. It's actually kind of amusing seeing how chummy her parents are with her. And Rebecca's just feeling kind of embarrassed about it. And you see Hamura, Shiki, and Weiss like, do you think you could stop hanging all over me? And Connor's like, but lass, it were 18 years since we were family. And Rachel's like, but we were just so happy to be with our little girl. Yeah, but and Connor, oh my god. He's like, now come play a game with your dear old dad. it's it's a very 18 plus rated game with an adult only rating on there. And Rebecca's like, that's not a game to play with your parents. And then you have then you got what's it called? Rachel going like, "Come take a bath with me, Ducky." So I kind of cleared up a little thing where Rebecca got the thing of Ducky from. So it's a trait she picked up from her mom. I just had a bath. You can sleep with mommy and daddy tonight, and Rebecca's just like, "Ew, no." It just brings back so many memories. Yeah, it sure does. Rachel, sweetie. And like, they're like starting to make out and everything. And Rebecca's like, not in front of the children. Everyone on the crew has lost their parents. And what's worse on Lindard, they were forced to see horrible things that happened to their mothers. Could you be grown-ups and shown a little consideration, please? And they both like have that gloomy expression on their face. And I'm wise like, it doesn't bother me. Indeed, I find it heartwarming. And Shiki's just like, family's so great. Anyway, Rebecca's mom really looks just like her. And Peter's like, that's what they call genetics. It's like looking at a younger version of myself. And Laguna Jin's like, "You look pretty young yourself." And he's just like, "Ducky, oh, nicely said." And she looks at Laguna and she's like, "There are a lot of lookers among Rebecca's friends." And I love this particular panel right here where Rachel's just like, "Which one of them's your boyfriend?" And Rebecca's like, "What?" And she's like, "No, let me guess." And here's the thing: Rebecca never flat out denies that. That's the thing, important thing we need to take into account here. Rebecca does not deny the fact that, yeah, okay, which one of them is your boyfriend? And she's like, "Would you cut that out already?" Because it's like kind of embarrassing for her. But Hermit's there, and she's like, "So what are you gonna do now?" Muskoy! If you want to stay on the ship, then. And Rachel says, "I'm going back home for now." And I love these expressions. Connor's like, "What? But you're finally back together again. And you just told us your home is the planet Mills. But you said Ziggy destroyed the place, right? There were some survivors, and they're sure to be worried about me. Look, I said for now, remember, we can see each other anytime, once all the dust is settled." And then Connor's like, "But besides, our reunion might be even more magical in the other world." Which Rebecca's like, "The other world." And Rachel says, "That's right. All of you are about to go to a different world." Like, and then you've got the trio. You've got Jin, Clean, and Laguna. What do you mean? I mean, that's our only hope now. I know this may come off as a bit of a shock, but try and stay calm. Mother's dying, and you got everyone freaking out. You got Shiki and Rebecca, Connor, Wise Pino, Happy there too. Hermit, Ivory. You got Hamura also. Mother's life is running out. And when it does, the whole human race and all the cosmos will go extinct. Not far in the future, it'll be lights out for this world. And Rebecca's like, "The world's ending." And then Shiki's like, "You know things about Mother?" And Rachel says, "Of course I know about her. In the Church of Saintfire, we put all our faith in Mother." And Rebecca's just kind of left garbage. Okay, hold up. Religions try and pull up this garbage all the time. And look, it's actually kind of amusing when I think about this, but it is kind of a truth in that sense. The world's coming to an end. If you join our church, you can avoid the disaster. Come and join us. And Rachel's like, "Whoa, what decade did you come from?" From 50 years ago. Look, I'm not politicizing here or pro solicit. Y'all know what I'm trying to say here. The mother of this world has already started losing her power. And Jin's like, "So what? So what? Why should losing her power mean the world is over? Because Mother is our source of life," is what Rachel says. And actually, that makes sense too, with what she's about to say right here. "We believe that the human race was born from the great maternal being we call Mother. So a part of Mother flows through each and every one of us. If we lose Mother, then all mankind will inevitably die out. But why is Mother getting weaker?" And that's what Happy says. And Rachel says, "I don't know why, but it's true. And it's true in every world I visited." Every world you visited? I can't even count how many times I've jumped through time to see what I could find, but it was always the same. Every world, Mother dies. Every world but one. There's one. To pull a Doctor Strange, there's only one world. Uno. only uno world where it's possible. The world of possibilities. And it's actually kind of it's interesting thinking about this because it goes back to something that was stated. Universe Zero. Because this was mentioned in the flashback with Ziggy. And you got Shiki sweating, you got Hermit, you got Pino, you got Lobelia. Wait a minute, none of this is making any sense to me. And the couch was like, or me. According to Zero, no, Universe Zero, according to Ziggy, it's the only world where Mother survives. So, to put it the other way, Mother dies in every other universe. Exactly. That's what, what's it called? Rachel says. Yar! Well, what be these universes again? In other words, parallel worlds, the result of a single choice fan out into countless possible worlds. When a number is assigned to one of these parallel worlds, we call it a universe. But it ain't possible to observe the differences in these universes unless you have the power to travel through time, like me and Rebecca. And you're telling me to go to Universe Zero? No, I'm telling you all. I'm telling all of you to go. And everyone was just like, wait, hold on, what? How? And Rachel's like, on this ship. That's what it's for, ain't it? And Shiki remembers what Ziggy told him, like a ship to travel across space time. The Eden Zero. Come and see me when you get to Universe Zero. I can show you the way to Mother. I don't know where she is, but I can still guide you. That's how it is in Universe Zero. You must find Mother. That'll be the key to saving her. And then we get this panel with Shiki, panel with Becca, Y, Samora, Pino, Happy, Connor, Hermit, and Ivory. Jin, Clean, Laguna, Moscow, Couchbell, and Labelia. But there's one thing you can never forget, and this is what's going to set the stage for everything. Universe Zero is the world of possibilities. Once you all become observers of it, it has the potential to become whatever world each of you wants it to be. The potential. Universe Zero is an irregular world, and the starting point of everything. All the universes converge at zero. What does that mean? It means once you get to zero, there's no turning back. And you and I will both lose our powers to time travel, to travel through time. And of course, so will the Eden Zero. Universe Zero is the final world. So, essentially, what this is after this, like, there's no do overs. Like, there's no way we can like reverse time, and that to me is fascinating. And it ups the stakes too, because up until this point, like, yeah, like we've had instances of like, yeah, maybe if we reverse it, like things could be a little different, but it hasn't always worked. Okay, it didn't work with Witch, and then Elsie and James, they're gone too. So and see, but that's the big thing about Eden Zero is that like is it's very much it has that rave master essence to it where we've had casualties, we've had risks in stories, and we've had things where our characters do grow. Not to say fairy tale has never had that, because it did. We had it in fairy tale with Simon, we had it with like Neil, we had it with Silver. So there have been instances where stuff like that has happened, even with okay, Zareth is an anomaly on this one because I feel like you need fairy tale 100 Years Quest to like really kind of get the context into account. But I think that's interesting is that okay, after this, there's nothing we can do. Like once we go back to zero, like that's that. But overall, I'll say this: Chapter 219, I'm going to give it the rating of pure perfection. Pure perfection is going to be that rating for this chapter. Now, chapter 220, Ethereon. As this is going on, you see the Eden Zero, you see a ship has taken off, which was very much Rachel's ship. Rebecca's looking over, like, your mother left the ship? Yeah. I'm not happy talking. And Connor's like, there's no need to leave us so soon. You'll be seeing me again in no time, is what Rachel tells Connor in Universe Zero. Does this mean you can still observe us after we go to the other world? Mom? I'm still a member of the Same Fire Knox clan. The Same Fire clan, after all. There is one last thing I want you to remember. Universe Zero might turn out to be exactly what you want it to be, but it might turn out to be everything you don't want. Either way, whatever happens in that world will overwrite all the other universes and merge them into one. Then it'll even overwrite your memories, our memories. For instance, you got into an accident when you were little and got put into that robot body, right? I In Universe Zero, that accident might just kill you altogether. What? No. And what I love here, I love what happens next because this is something we've talked about on the channel before, and that's the flashback to Shiki. Like Rebecca's nightmare when you had that stone cold-hearted Shiki say, "Happy, how's a dead cat gonna help us?" or gonna help anything. So that automatically to me kind of shows that, oh shit, like that's still a possibility that can still happen. So I like that Hero did incorporate that. Like, yes, this is still a plot point in the story. All the people who know you now will have their memories modified. And they'll remember you as a cat. They'll only remember you as the cat that died in an accident. Those memories will realign with your current memories, and the new memories will become truth. And Rebecca, like, could you spare us all this doom and gloom right before we say goodbye? Sorry, Ducky, I didn't mean to. The point is, it doesn't matter what world is waiting for you in Universe Zero. Everything about it will become truth, and you won't get any do-overs. And then, as that's happening, you see you still have them talking, and you got Shiki over there. I think Weiss is over there too, and I think that's Tamora also. Do you wanted to? Do you want to just not go? We have to go. You know that. Now that we know that this world, that Universe 3 is about to lose its mother, not just this world, Mother is going to disappear in every universe except Universe Zero, is what Shiki says. And then Hamura is like, and that will lead to the end of mankind, or humankind in this case. Why says, so what happens after all the humans are gone? And Jin says, who knows? I'm guessing it'll turn into a world of all machines. And I love Queen. Queen's just like, Pino, she'll be everywhere. Like, such a wholesome response. And Pino's just like, I'm not a mass produced model. According to Ziggy's story, it was all machines 20,000 years in the future. And all those machines were about to die out too. So if the humans and robots are going to survive, we have to go to Universe Zero. So the panel before was Herbert's explanation. And this next panel, Shiki says, unsaved mother. Rebecca says, yeah. Connor be like, but there be leaps of problems in our way. The first being the Eden's one. And Pino says, we'll certainly have to fight it in Universe Zero. And then Ivory's like, another problem is that Joker. Not only him, all the Dark Stars. They all had some past with the Shining Stars. Pasts we don't know about. And Ivory's like, Is that why our memories were erased? Rebecca says, but the biggest problem is how do we get to Universe Zero? And Herman says, well, considering what we learned from Ziggy, I have a theory about that. Come with me. And we finally get to the doors that is code 3173, or code Ellie in this case. The Eden Zero's most highly classified secret, code 3173, Ethereum. And I remember when I was reading this, I was just like, oh shit. I was like, yo, are we gonna get future Rebecca? Like the Rebecca from, Ziggy's verse? Because if that Rebecca were there, I would have been like, I'm like, I don't know how Rebecca's gonna react to that, but whatever. But then Homura is like, of course there must be some device inside that will time that will travel through time. And White's like, can we open it? Technically we need an authentication from all the four of the shining stars, but I know, Pino, you can take Witch's place. But me? Code 3173. In the name of the four shining stars, we unlock you. Hermit. Authentication granted. Sister. Um, Authentication granted. Valkyrie. Authentication granted. As Witch's proxy, I grant authentication. I'm sorry, you guys, that I'm blanking on these words. I really am. But then all this. So Pino's taking Witch's place. Interesting. But the door is now finally open. And what's inside the ship is a. I was about to say giant lacrima, but it definitely does look like a giant lacrima. But what's in like that sphere? Like, this is Ethereon? But wait, that's. And Rebecca's like, what? It's my B cube. It's exactly like this one. Of course. It's just like the relics that contain traces of Mother Ether. This object is imbued with future Rebecca's Libra powers. When Rebecca was pronounced dead 20,000 years ago in the future, she still has some ether left. They extracted the ether and sealed it inside an object with a strong emotional connection to Rebecca. And Rebecca's just like, that's kind of morbid. And this thing has the power to jump through time. Probably. I think that's the case. But how did we get to Ethereum unlocked now? The ship will now begin its voyage to Universe Zero. Whoa! What the? Not so fast. Initiating zero protocol. All systems green. And White's like, wait, give us a minute. And Moore like, I was not emotionally prepared for this. Moskoy, Moskoy. And Herman's like, I wasn't counting on it starting up as soon as we unlocked it. We need to stop it for now. And Ivory's like, we can't. Our systems have been logged. And Shiki just smiles and says, it's okay. Let's go to Universe Zero. Everyone's there with the expression, like super shocked. Like, we're really going through with this. And Hermit's the only one that says, but we have no idea what it'll be like there. We might be separated in that world. And Shiki says one thing. We'll see each other again. We're family. I know we'll find each other again. And like, as this whole thing's like building up, like the light's about to impute within them. And Rebecca just says this, and oh my god, yo, like my Sheikah fills were like coming like in hot when this happened because Shiki just smiled and said, I won't forget about you guys. And she's like, me neither. As it travels through time, and we see a shooting star, right? Now I'ma just say this. Hero, you are one mad genius because the thought, the level of thought that you put into this. Like, we see the shooting star, right? And the shooting star goes all the way back to the first page. I mean, maybe not the first page, but definitely the first opening pages of chapter one, where you have Ziggy, you have Michael, Shiki's there too, and Shiki's like, that star is moving. So the fact that we have a tiny detail like that shooting star was in fact the Eden Zero. Oh my god! Like, it's insane. It's honestly really insane, and I'm sitting here going like, this man, like, people should not doubt Hero. I'm just saying that right now. There's no doubt people should have about Hero at this point because, listen, we're 25 volumes in now. There's one more chapter left to conclude volume 25. And that could definitely be the wrap up, like the complete wrap up of of the Leonard arc. Or if you even want to count like 220 as the end of the Leonard arc, I'm totally fine with that. But like, you guys have no idea how I'm feeling about this. It's it's insane. Like, insane in a good way because now there's so much speculation that we could have here with Eden Zero. So much is going through my mind right now, and it gets me really excited for chapter 221. It really, really gets me excited to know what we're gonna get moving forward. Again, this would be the penultimate chapter to volume 25. So 221 is definitely gonna be the wrap up point for volume 25. And if I'm gonna have to play the game again on how long the Yukino Cosmos is gonna be, because I'm 100% certain we're gonna get that. I'm 100% certain that we're gonna get the Yukino Cosmos next because the way how each of these arcs, each of these sagas have been playing out, we had the Sakura Cosmos saga, we had the Aoi Cosmos saga, we had the Kaede Cosmos saga. Now we're gonna get into the Yukino Cosmos saga, and each of these sagas have gotten a little bit shorter. I've noticed that, where Sakura Cosmos lasted 12 volumes, Aoi Cosmos lasted 7 volumes, and now the Kaede Cosmos as a whole is going to be relatively fun. Well, yeah, it's not even five. It's 6 volumes total, which means that moving forward, if I were to take a guess, I want to say we might have like maybe six, like 5 to 7 volumes is my estimate. I don't think we're going to be in Eden Zero for much longer. Like, I definitely do feel like this upcoming year we're going to be getting into Free and Zero. I think 2023 is going to be the wrap up for Eden Zero. I really do think that. And some people might be like, whoa, 2023? Like, isn't that kind of soon? Well, I bring that up for one specific fact. And it all ties back into Rave Master, as it always does. But Rave Master started in July 21st, 1999. Okay? It started then. And it didn't end until September 9th of 2005. So that's ultimately 6 years. Now, Fairy Tail's a different case altogether. Fairy Tail is a completely, and I mean a completely different case altogether, because Fairy Tail wasn't intended to be as long as it was going to be. But if you want to play that game into account, that was like relatively 11 years. Again, for a story that wasn't supposed to be as long as it was. But let's go to Eden Zero here. Eden Zero currently, as of right now, has 24 volumes out. 25 is almost finished. We are 4 years into Eden Zero. So I would definitely say 2023, maybe early 2024. I want to stretch it to 2024. 2023, maybe early, like middle of 2024. Eden Zero is going to wrap up. I definitely do think within these next 2 years, we're going to be wrapping things up like pretty heavily with Eden Zero. And I look forward to it. I really, really do look forward to seeing what we're going to get with this upcoming chapter, which will be the wrap up of line 25, but also just get an idea of like where we're going to be going in the future. I really do. So let me know what you guys' thoughts were on this chapter. How did you feel about Eden Zero, chapter 220? How did you feel about the Lindard arc as a whole? I mean, I think as a whole, I would say this arc gets somewhere between great plus and amazing. It's like somewhere around that scale. I don't know an exact percentage yet, but it's around that scale where it's like from great plus to amazing. I would definitely say like the way this arc wrapped up, for sure, definitely takes away a lot of like the down points that we had with this arc, in my opinion. Which are very few. Like the down points we had in the Linder arc are like very, very small compared to a lot of the highs that we had. So overall, I'm going to say amazing plus. Amazing, not amazing. Okay, pure perfection for the chapter as a whole. But for the arc in its entirety, between great plus and amazing. That's all I'm gonna say. So, like I said, let me know what your guys' thoughts were on this chapter. How did you guys feel about the way the Leonard arc concluded, and what do you guys think we're gonna get moving forward? And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Eden Zero, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.